As for those who care about knowing the truth concerning the 9/11 attacks in the USA, please go to Google or other search engines and search the keyword 9/11, where you will find hundreds of websites of NGOs and others with tons of facts and information to do your own investigations. But do not miss on the most important fact that there were no hijacked airplanes, and no caveman was involved in the 9/11 criminal attacks. That not to defend anyone, but to defend the truth. And that would help you to find the answers to many of the unanswered questions of the 9/11 crime. Most important 9/11 information document: over 50 senior military, intelligence, and government officials are now on record questioning 9/11. Read media statements from members of Congress, a former director of the FBI, a former chief economist of President George W. Bush, an assistant secretary of the Treasury under President Reagan, the former head of the Advanced Space Programs for the Department of Defense under Reagan, a British cabinet minister under Prime Minister Tony Blair, and more. In reports on respected websites, links provided, each of these prominent leaders now claim that there are serious problems with the official government story of the 9/11. You see also over 100 respected and distinguished professors claiming a 9/11 cover-up, senior military intelligence and government officials question 9/11 Commission report. Senior military intelligence and government officials question 9/11 Commission report. Go to the website www.wanttoknow.info/officials question 9/11 Commission report, and go to website www.wanttoknow.info/9/11 information, sign number 911 Paul. Note, because I did not read all the information on the above website, I neither agree with all the information therein, nor I recommend it above other 9/11 truth seekers websites. Now, what does the Great Quran say more than 1400 years ago concerning the crime and the criminals behind the 9/11 attacks in the USA? The answer is, when any barrister petitions a case in a Supreme Court, he or she should ask a question or questions and present them in writing to the Supreme Court as part of the petition, at the front of the petition. In the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, the anti-Islam, the anti-Prophet Abraham crusade, led by Israel and other special interest groups, by using the USA, started its proxy wars against Islam, against Abraham, and Muslims, trying to make the world believe its usual fraudulent force and fabricated evidence that believing Muslims, Islam, Abraham, and the Great Quran are bad and terrible, as Wilders is doing in his Fitna. My question to Wilders: who is good or even come close to the true believing Muslims, the children of Abraham? I mean the true followers of Abraham and true followers of Muhammad? The answer is in the Great Quran, as authored by the Supreme Justice Allah, who has given us one of his Supreme Court case law in Surah 6, Ayah 122, that's 6:122, when Allah himself presents a question in 6:122 that, is he who was spiritually dead, ignorant disbeliever in the oneness of his true Creator? Then we, Allah, resurrected him by giving him the knowledge and faith in the oneness of his true Creator, and we made for him a bright light, that he is walking by it among the people. Is such person's example like the example of the one who is in darkness of ignorance and disbelief in the oneness of his true Creator, of which he is not getting out of it, is not getting out of the darkness? Thus it was beautified to the disbelievers as the criminals of the 9/11 and Wilders, that which they were doing, such as but not limited to the big crimes of the 9/11 criminal attacks and fitna. We see that the devil beautified the crimes in the eyes of the criminals behind the 9/11 as follows. But their hearts, the hearts of the criminals were hardened, and the devil beautified to them who belied the messenger of Allah that which they used to do of their crimes. See the Great Quran, Surah 6, Ayah 43. And when the devil beautified to the disbelievers their criminal deeds, and said to them, he said to the devilish people, today none of the people could overcome you, and I am next to you for your help. But when the two fighting groups, the godly people and the devilish people, came in sight of each other, the devil ran away and said, I see what you see not. Indeed, I fear Allah, and Allah is the most severe in punishment. Surah 8, the Quran, Surah 8, Ayah 48. Allah also states, by Allah, we have sent messengers and prophets to nations before you, O Muhammad, and the devil beautified to them criminals the crimes of those nations, as he is in charge of them. He's in charge, as the devil is in charge of the disbelieving nations today, and for them is the painful punishment. See the Great Quran, Surah 16, Ayah 63. Allah also states in the Quran, and as such it was beautified by the devil to Pharaoh his bad deeds in alleging to be God, and he was deviated from the way of justice. See the Great Quran, Surah 40, Ayah 37. So the devil beautified the crimes of the 9/11 in the eyes of its criminals. Right after Allah states his question in his Great Quran, Surah 6, Ayah 122, he answers his question by stating, and thus we, Allah, have set in every town, every nation, its high-ranking criminals from its own people, domestic criminals, to plot their big crimes in that town, and they plot their crimes not but against themselves, while the high-ranking criminals comprehend not. See the Great Quran, Surah 6, Ayah 123. In another word, we could read and apply 6:123 of the Great Quran to the 9/11 crimes and its criminals as follows. And thus Allah have set in the USA its high-ranking American and New Yorkers criminals who committed the big crimes of the 9/11 in New York and the rest of the USA. And those high-ranking American domestic criminals plotted and executed their crimes of the 9/11 and falsely accused others, while the devil beautified their crimes. But in reality, those high-ranking American criminals and others who are behind the 9/11 crimes are plotting against none but themselves, while they comprehend not. Furthermore, and in order to stamp those domestic high-ranking American criminals with the stamp of the 9/11 crimes, we should count the ayat, the statements of the blessed, great, wise, protective Quran, starting from Surah 1, Al-Fatiha, until we reach Surah 6, Ayah 122. We find out that the number of the statement of Surah 6, Ayah 122 is 9/11. Accordingly, the 9/11 crimes are committed by the biggest and the highest ranking American criminals to blame Islam, Abraham, and the Muslims in order to make Islam and the Muslims look bad and terrible, to intensify the already kindled anti-Islam, anti-the Prophet Abraham crusades campaigns fire. Then Fitna moves to Spain in Europe, and we hear a clip that's saying, Monse, I'm at a torture station and a bomb went off at the train. Help, help. People are screaming and bombs are going off. In response, I say, the bombing of the train station in Madrid, Spain, is the same kind of the crimes of the 9/11 in the USA, but in a different place and in a different way and in a different time.